Okay.
So how can you pay tax to the level of France, but get the services at the level of Kenya?
Our peers in the continent is on average between 22 and 25%, which means we are way below, our taxes are way below those of our peers, and I'm not comparing ourselves with OECD countries. Countries like France are at 45%, others are higher.
Oh my God!
I may not be your best, and I don't claim to be, but I'm the one you have.
Ask you something, Prof. Our president anasema we need to live according to our means, tuache mambo ya kuboro sana. Eventually, Wakenya tutaona the fruits of this taxation.
Yeah. Let me explain that in two ways. There's something really wrong with that statement. First, we are being compared with the taxation levels in the West, isn't it?
France,
France, isn't it? Now let's get you. Do you know how many hospitals are there in France?
Okay.
So how can you pay tax to the level of France, but get the services at the level of Kenya? There are 125,000 potholes between Busia and Mombasa. Sivyo? Right. If you go to France, if you go to the superhighway, the one that leads from Lyon going to Paris, there's no pothole. You drive on what you call autopista.
Yes,
you drive until you forget that actually there is a road. You think that you are driving on, let's say on carpet, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, do you know that in the US, 63% of roads are paved, isn't it? If you go to China, 100% of roads are paved. China, India, India is 61%. Kenya is 9% of roads are paved. So how do you pay taxes to the level of China, which is 100% paved? And the president was in the US. When he left the airport, driving all those places, tell me how many potholes he saw. You leave our airport here. Kabla ufike Vibes Radio, hata tire isha fill imegonga almost 1,000 potholes. Sasa, look here, if you have that big road network to maintain, your taxes for sure can be high, isn't it?
And Kenyans have been socialized to believe that they pay the highest taxes. But empirical data shows Kenya, as of last year, our tax as a percentage of our revenues was 14%. Our peers in the continent is on average between 22 and 25%, which means we are way below, our taxes are way below those of our peers, and I'm not comparing ourselves with OECD countries. Countries like France are at 45%, others are higher. So I persuaded and I made a case to the people of Kenya that we must begin to enhance our revenue. Because if we are a serious state, we must be able to enhance our taxes. So my drive is to push Kenya. Possibly this year we will be at 16% from 14%. I want in my term, God willing, to leave it at between 20 and 22%. It's going to be difficult. I have a lot of explaining to do. People will complain, but I know finally they will appreciate that the money we go to borrow from the World Bank is savings of other countries. We have to begin to live within our means. And then secondly, is to reduce largesse. There people travel first class, when it is completely unnecessary. People do, things that, and so when I called, by the way, I sat here with heads of ministries, departments, agencies, and I told them, look, from our data, we can do with 30% less of our recurrent expenditure. And you know what? Everybody has gone and cut their recurrent expenditure by 30%, and nobody's complaining. What does that tell you? That there was wastage. I mean, there was a place you could cut and still be able to manage to do things.